How are you, my internet family? So this video does exactly what it says on the tin. I am doing this to my face and at the same time trying to help you out with problems that you sent to me on Instagram. And you all have some problems, so I'm not going to waffle. I'm going to dive right in. Just let me know if you like videos like this with a thumbs up down below and leave a comment for a future installment if I do decide to do another one. Alright, so as I go, I'll list what I'm using down here. Quite a number of you, at least about 50 people, asked me about feelings of loneliness and how to feel less lonely. Control yourselves, I can't help looking this sexual.
You're never alone with a phone. Look at that, no calls. Everyone I know doesn't want to talk to me.
Some of you already know this, but I'm making a mini documentary all about social media and loneliness. It's something I'm really, really interested in, not because I necessarily feel more lonely because of social media. If anything, I have found personally that it has enhanced my social life so much, and so many of my friends, I only know them because of the internet. I've definitely used it in a very positive way to kind of connect to communities of people that I otherwise just would struggle to come upon in the real world, I think. Why is my ear so red? Yeah, I've come upon the writing community, IBS and gluten-free community who have gotten me through some incredible times. One thing that popped up an awful lot in the documentary, and you guys will see that later this year, something a lot of people seem to do is to use their phones as a safety blanket in social situations. And then, you know, also a lot of people are addicted to their phones, and it takes a certain level of self-control to decide not to go on it when you're with people, and to let other people in your life know that, you know, it bothers them if they're not really being present with you in actual real life encounters. I'm going in now with the PIXI Beauty Balm, which I have been loving. I bought this about a week ago, and I think this is the one. I have some other favourites, like I love the Milk Foundation, the Sunshine Stick one. I love the Jane Iredale makeup because it's really natural. This is so beautiful. There's some really basic stuff that we're all kind of sucking at nowadays, just like making eye contact when you're talking to people, and you know, asking people questions. One person who we interviewed for the documentary said that they very rarely, if ever, are asked by someone else how they're doing, and you know, that can feel quite isolating. It can make you feel really lonely if you feel like nobody cares about you. I think I've only ever felt really properly lonely once in my life, and the main thing that helped me was to work on my self-confidence, because when I wasn't confident, I found it so impossible to just approach groups of people that I didn't know, you know, to make new friends and stuff. In college, when I first started college, I was quite shy and quiet compared to the way I am now. I had a lot of trouble unleashing the beast, like my personality. I really needed to do a lot of work on myself to kind of put myself in the right position to build a quality support network, because it's much easier said than done to tell people, like, just put yourself in new situations and say yes to opportunities. Self-growth, my loves, because when you, I don't know, when you like yourself as a person and you feel proud of the things you're doing, even if they're not big massive things, but just the fact that you're making an effort with something, anything, it just makes you see yourself as someone who is worthy of other people's time, if that makes sense. On the other side of the coin then, you definitely have people who are lonely because they're kind of insufferable themselves, or they don't make an effort with other people and they're always expecting other people to make an effort with them. So I definitely would say be the one to initiate fun stuff to do with friends. I used to find that really hard, and I'd always wait for someone to ask me to do something, but I'm finding myself more and more just messaging people saying, you know, are you around this weekend, or do you want to go for a coffee or a walk together, or whatever. It is definitely quite sad, but I think a lot of people would be really shocked if they realised how happy it would make certain people if they heard from you first, and then by you taking that initiative you might inspire those other people to reach out to you more often. Oh Jesus, this is something I feel like is going to start happening in all of my groups of friends soon, just because of the age.
Hi! Oh my God, it's the Bellini baby basket! Oh look, everybody! It's the Bellini baby basket!
They're inseparable. They do everything together.
Mel, all my friends are having babies and boyfriends and I'm not. How do I keep these friendships alive? Oh, I have been thinking about this so so much. As you know, Thomas and I got engaged and we have actually started planning our wedding already. We said we were going to wait, but we're just both really excited by it, and we're both also extremely broody. It's so bad, like it's so bad. The friends thing does be on my mind a lot, because I know a lot of people who are mothers and they have told me how much your life changes, at least during the baby years, like when your kids are young babies and toddlers. They take up so much of your mental energy and your time, and then if you're also trying to work or anything on top of that and spend quality time with your partner to keep your relationship alive, it sounds really quite challenging. And I would say that is probably the one main thing that is making me feel kind of cautious about just being like, oh fuck it, let's just have a baby now. My friendships are super important to me, but I will try and answer this very honestly from the perspective of someone who has been through, you know, while coupled up but also while I was single, good friends getting into relationships and then just dropping off the face of the earth. It has happened to me, I don't know how many times that's happened to me, like probably nearly all of my best friends that's happened at least once. And sometimes the friendships kind of come back isn't the right way to put it, but rekindle. I've had friendships where I felt like they were literally over completely, well beyond the point of no return, and then once the honeymoon phase ends or whatever, they come back to the surface, and then it's up to me to decide, like, do I want to work on that friendship anymore? Because I try really hard not to drop off on people that I care about anyway when I'm with someone or whatever. And that's it. Like, I hope when I'm pregnant and when I have babies that I will still really make an effort to make time for the people in my life. I look at all relationships, especially friendships, as very fluid. Like, they're not these structures that are just always there. I don't see them as like a pillar. I see them more like a plant where they will bloom and then they die, and then sometimes on that same patch of land another plant will bloom and maybe it looks kind of similar to the first one, you know, because I've had friendships where through the years they've morphed and they've changed over time. I mean, that person might provide different things for each other at different points in our lives. One of the worst things for me, I think, growing up was the expectation. I don't know where the expectation came from, but the expectation that friendships would stay the same for most of my life. That, like, once I had a best friend, that person would be my best friend indefinitely. And it just doesn't work like that. Keeping a friendship alive isn't just about putting in enough effort, because for one, that effort has to be coming from both directions, but also, like, timing is a big part of it. And I guess what I found with real friendships, what I would consider real friendships, is like, no matter how much time goes by, you'll see that person after maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, more maybe, and it feels like nothing has changed, and you can just really comfortably slip back into the way that you are used to talking to one another. That's how it should be, because we become friends with kindred spirits, and if we change too much and they don't change, then when you become friends again, it might be all awkward and shit. One example would be my good friend Sarah. So we met when we were about 16, and I'd say we were kind of friends, but more so like party acquaintances. You know, we didn't really hang out on our own and go to the cinema and all that kind of thing, but we would always chat and hang out at parties or on nights out and stuff. And we went through a few little phases of being closer over the years then. And then she moved to Scotland, and then we just didn't really see each other or talk for a long time, and there was no hard feelings. Like, we would tag each other under things on Facebook. And while she lived away, she visited home this once, and after that we just became really, really close and almost like pen pals. And then ever since she moved home, we kind of see each other at least once every 2 weeks, sometimes once a week, sometimes once every 3 weeks. If I had a baby, or if she had a baby, I know that each of us would offer to help each other out with things and would send each other little update videos of the babies and kind of send each other voice messages, and we just make room and time for each other. And I have a number of friends where I know that would be the case. Basically, I think give what you got, and if you're not getting shit back, just kind of let it go for a while and see if it reignites down the line when the timing is better. And in that meantime, focus on other friends. Okay, this next person asked me something that a lot of people ask me because I am engaged to a pilot, overcoming plane related anxiety. any tips, any advice?
I have to get off this plane, okay? Her friend has a feeling something's wrong with the left phalange. The left phalange?
There's no phalange.
Oh my god. This plane doesn't even have a phalange.
Through dating Thomas, my plane-related anxiety has just died a death. I have become like a walking book of plane facts. Flying is the safest mode of transport by far, and it is only becoming safer. Fatal accidents only occur it's something like 1 in every 2 million flights. Planes go through such extensive testing like you would not even believe. Like, he is trained to land a plane even if both engines fail. The plane can glide for so far and so long, like, you don't understand. Even turbulence, like, turbulence isn't dangerous at all. It's just really annoying. That's the only reason that pilots really avoid it, is just because it's annoying.
You'll be grand, you'll be absolutely grand.
Someone asked about revealing a fetish to a new person, and this is something I am quite passionate about, because I really just want everyone in the world to be living their best life when it comes to, you know, their sex life, and to be having a whale of a time in the sack. But, you know, this week, for example, this YouTuber that I love and I've watched for a long time, True Geordie, like, we're internet pals of sorts, and now it absolutely could be fake, because screenshots unfortunately can be faked, but all these screenshots were linked that were allegedly from him, you know, DMs on Instagram, and they were rather explicit and about sexual fetishes that he has, and, well, that this girl obviously had as well. They are quite niche fetishes. I've probably met like 1 or 2 other people who ever told me that they were into that kind of thing, and basically everyone and their uncle was being an absolute asshole on Twitter, making jokes about this and just being really awful about it. And I just think it's very, very different, because it's private messages that were leaked. To me, it's on par with revenge porn, you know what I mean? Just because you're not seeing body parts doesn't mean, like, that's someone's sexual words and thoughts that they have not consented to being in public. They have been made public, and then everyone's kind of weighing in, and you can really see how judgmental people get over fetishes when you know for sure, like, all the people writing all that stuff, I was just imagining their faces if their porn history was leaked, how they'd feel about that, how they'd feel about their private videos and messages or anything being made public. We're all into some sort of stuff. And yeah, some people's fetishes might be very, very basic. Some people's fetishes might be like on the complete opposite extreme end. When it is between 2 consenting adults, I just don't see any problem with it. Like, I have a degree in education, and I actually was really interested in going on and doing a master's in sexuality studies, because I just find it really, really fascinating. Like, really intrigued by why people are turned on by certain things and whatnot. Yeah, what am I getting at? So yeah, firstly, just never feel ashamed of your fetish. That is the place you want to be coming from when you're communicating it to a new person. You know, you want to feel very kind of secure in your fetish. You want to understand it. You want to know that it's legal and whatnot. But yeah, so the reason I bring up the True Geordie thing is the fact that you never know where messages are going to end up, who's going to see them, and that's an unfortunate thing. It's like you kind of end up sexually losing out a little bit if you are making a decision to be single, or if you're just single and you want to have a good sexual experience with someone. You don't know them, and they're a complete stranger, and they could do or say anything to anyone about you. I know personally what sexual kinks certain YouTubers have. They have never left my mouth. I have not uttered those things to anyone else. Not friends, not current partner, no one, because it's no one else's business, because it was a private exchange, it was a private conversation where they were opening up to me and telling me sexual fetishes, and I believe that's the way it should be. However, if you want to tell someone else about a fetish and it's quite out there or whatever, even, you know, it might be something basic like a foot fetish. Yeah, they might screenshot your messages and show your entire college or whatever. The news might make it around the office group chat, you know what I'm saying? So my personal advice, and what I tried to do when I was single, was to keep most of that, if not all of that, for personal, like face-to-face conversations, so that there's no like evidence, at least until I really got to know someone, or I was like committed to someone, very involved with someone, I wouldn't usually break out the fetishes straight on unless that person was very clearly into something similar, you know, like a bit of rough, you know, and like that. But I do think it's a really important question, especially like in this day and age. Damn it! Melanie, I'm feeling pressured to live the single life at 19, but I'm in a long-term happy relationship. Whoever is pressuring you is being absolutely ridiculous. I know people who married their first love, you know, the person that they got with when they were like 15, 16, and they are perfectly happy. I was someone who didn't really find myself single until I was about 25 or something like that. And I was with people then straight from like 16 straight through, you know, with like mini little breakups here and there. But I know people who are 50 and have had 2 amazing marriages that they don't regret, and then they're living an amazing single life in their 50s. Just ignore them. If you're in a happy relationship, they're probably just fucking jealous. Like, I definitely think being single is a lot better than being in an unhappy relationship, but I would choose being in a happy relationship over being single. And I've had a lot of experience, and I had a great wild time while I was being single, but just nothing compares to love. How to stop defining myself based on my grades? Just stop. I can't really look directly at you and look at this at the same time, but just imagining that I'm looking directly into your soul. Well, I'll link a video down below as well, but I did quite badly in my leaving cert. I was going through a lot at the time, and I just didn't really care about school at all, and I ended up years later with a Bachelor of Science 1.1 honours degree, top of my class. Now I run a company, and take all that away, I am still happy with myself as a person. I am kind. I'm always working on myself. I'm in therapy right now. I'm always trying to be more understanding. I'm trying to grow and to be forgiving and to be funny and to be nice. And there are so many things that define who you are other than a stupid number, a stupid piece of paper. Those things are great, and I would never shit on anyone who has worked their ass off to get good grades. Fair play, it makes life easier, but nah, God, you're so much more than your grades. There's this girl I went to school with, and she failed everything. Like, she did so terribly, and she's so happy now as a mother, and she's got multiple kids, and she's just loving life, you know what I mean? Having the need for a different experience in a long-term relationship.
You're bored! You're bored and you know it. You wouldn't be here if there wasn't something missing.
I've been here, actually. And, well, I'm assuming you're talking about a romantic need or a need for another person sexually or whatever, because if not, if it's anything else, and if the relationship is healthy, your partner should understand you wanting to pursue something else, be it a new hobby or a new job or time with new friends that they're not friends with, you know, having separate friend groups, anything like that. Your partner should get on board. Work on the communication. It is so important. If you're going to spend your whole life with someone anyway, you have to be able to talk about these things. But yeah, I was in a very, very long relationship of 6 years, and it was during that relationship, anyway, when I was in university, there was someone there who was the polar opposite of my partner in every way, shape, sense, form. Complete opposites. And I was finding myself being drawn a lot to this new person, and I was having to be around this new person quite a lot. I was on the class rep council, and so were they, and it was just all like, oh, I had them on this ridiculous pedestal, and it was just all magic and whatnot. And I was craving this other person so much, and I found it just really difficult to try and communicate that to my partner. We did not have good communication at all, and I never felt comfortable or safe to bring up anything like that in the relationship, and we ended up breaking up multiple times long before we ended up officially breaking up, like 2 years later. Yeah, I think if that last relationship had have been the one for me, I would have been able to talk about that with my partner and to kind of be really vulnerable, you know? Like, it's not going to be nice for any partner to hear that, obviously. Well, any monogamous partner, you know, polyamorous partners wouldn't mind at all. Yeah, and I never cheated or anything like that, but that experience made me be very cautious about selecting a new potential mate. I had several conversations with Thomas at the start of our relationship about the fact that either one of us or both of us would or will at multiple times maybe throughout our lives find ourselves very drawn to new people, or we might want to experience something. I don't necessarily think that I was like experiencing something that's a fantasy or that's in your head. It is necessary. Sometimes it's better off kept in with boundaries around it, you know, but I do think it is really important to be able to realize those desires and stuff like that by talking. And even though some of those conversations might suck, if and when they do happen, I know that I am with someone now who I would feel comfortable enough doing that, and I would just ask you to kind of look at your relationship. Firstly, look at why you're seeking these things. Are they things that you can bring into your current relationship, like maybe a bit more excitement, doing new things, having sex in new places, all that good stuff? Are there things that are missing from your relationship that you can inject back into it? Because I think sometimes a relationship needs a bit of resuscitation. They're not just going to kind of coast along and just be exciting and amazing all the time without effort from both sides. How to stop overeating when bored and alone. This, guys, this is something I used to do all the time, and I talked a lot about it in my first book. There's a whole section in it about my body and gaining weight and losing weight and having eating disorders and just all of that stuff. It's called Fully Functioning Human Almost. You can get it on audiobook, or you can buy the book online or in an Irish bookshop. Goodness me, I would be able to polish off like a full tube of Pringles, a full packet of biscuits, a full 2 litres of a fizzy drink, a full packet of fizzy sweets, more bags of crisps. Like, I would go hard at it, just constantly trying to fill this gaping empty void, this hole. Part of it was definitely the fact that I was craving nutrition and I wasn't feeding my body the nutrients it needed, so it kept craving fats, carbs, proteins, which there is like minimal amounts in all of those cheap, tasty, good foods, and your body feels tricked into thinking you're fulfilling the urge by continuing to do this motion and to eat, and it's not. That stuff is all gunk, you know. I don't like to call it bad food, but it's processed, and it's just not what we run on. It's not like our fuel, like the fuel you put in a car. That is just not human fuel. Nowhere in the wild would we find a packet of Pop-Tarts. No. My advice would be, on the one hand, to work on kind of building out your life in numerous different ways so that you have stuff going on, places to be, hobbies to keep up, friends to hang out with, you know, interests to nurture. You need to, 1, fill that gap. You need to, number 2, find alternatives that kind of give you that satisfied feeling. Mine are like herbal teas, peppermint tea, all that kind of stuff. I'll have a bit of dark chocolate, or I'll have some tortilla chips with some tortilla chips with salsa. Like, I do still snack and all, but I just won't do it for hours and hours and hours. Third thing, this will involve a me time journal, available down below. One of these things. Eat regularly throughout the day and include whole foods in all of your meals. I shit you not, you will be too full to do that mindless snacking of like 20 donuts. Like, you just won't, your body won't eventually. It takes time for your body's kind of natural signals and stuff to start working again, but once you're eating intuitively and you're kind of making sure that you're feeding yourself properly with one of these journals, I use them every day, I promise that your consumption of mindless calories won't be as big of an issue anymore. Sometimes, you know, we all need a bit of that, but it's just, it doesn't feel good, does it? I don't know anyone who's ever sat there and just kind of eating and eating and eating because they're bored. I don't know anyone who's got to the other end of that and been, I feel great, I feel so full of energy, I am gonna do all the things and get everything done today. No, you're just like, leave me alone, I wanna die, I look 9 months pregnant. Someone asked about being afraid to leave an unhappy marriage because kids are involved. I can't even imagine to pretend what that is like, but I can say, having come from a divorce, you know, my parents split when I was really young, and yes, at the time it was really difficult, and I have a lot of icky memories from that time, or icky feels attached to it, because obviously I was a child, I didn't know how to really deal with that, but I turned out fine. My childhood was very happy. There were certain difficult and weird times, but I don't know anyone who doesn't have those experiences. Like, your children will be happier if both of you are apart and happy than if you are together and constantly fighting and making this tense environment for them. I promise you, I was really relieved when my parents did, kind of, because you know, like any marriage or relationship that goes sour, it's not nice. And if you're all in one house, the kids are going to hear it. You absorb the energy. I really believe in energy and the energy people give off, and it's just not nice to be around that. So try and think long term. Think about your kids long term, and down the line they will get to the point that I'm at now, and I can completely see why my parents broke up, and I can completely see that it was the best thing for everyone involved, you know, even if not especially the parent who didn't do the breaking up You know what I mean? So I think your fears are very valid, but I don't think it will be as bad as you're anticipating, and you need to just not be so hard on yourself. This last person asked me how to know if you're bisexual.
Everyone has a preference.
And everyone is missing half the world's pleasure. The gods made that, and it delights me. The gods made this, and it delights me.
Goodness, I've made so much content around bisexuality, but I don't actually think I've ever made a video about this. I've talked about how I knew that I was bisexual, but not necessarily like telling other people, because it's a strange one. I don't want to ever label anyone else. I don't think that's something that any of us should ever do, and I also don't want to like convince people that they are something that they're not. But the way I would look at it is, and I say this to everyone all the time, especially people when they ask me in real life, is that there's straight, homosexual, and there is a huge amount of space between those two things. Huge amount of space. So many different queer identities. There's pansexual people, there's biromantic people, there's people who are strictly bisexual, there are bi-curious people, there are heteroflexible people. If you have any doubts that you are completely 100% straight as a uncooked piece of spaghetti, well, I believe you can at least consider yourself not straight. You don't have to label it or anything like that at all, but I just know so many people who fall under the umbrella and they don't want to use the label because, you know, they're so used to heteronormativity in the media, in their families, that they can't actually see themselves with someone of the same sex, but they would in fact be open to it if people didn't judge them and stuff like that. Yeah, if you're single and you want to explore, I think just explore. Don't think you have to put a label on it. I know people who did explore and then realized they were straight and it was kind of more just a fantasy thing, and I know other people who kind of got a little bit drunk and then stuff happened with someone of the same sex and then they realized they were gay all along. So yeah, my best advice there is to just chill on that one. And yeah, that's the video, and I really hope you enjoyed this one. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you want more like this, let me know. My August monthly vlog will be up in a few days. It is a really good one. It has my 30th, it has my wedding venue, summer in the city, climbing a mountain, so many things. So yeah, if you're a big fan of my channel, hit the bell. That's the only way to ensure that you get all notifications for my channel, and I'll see you again very, very soon.